Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hi, everyone. And hi, Lee. Hi, Monica. I'm so excited that all three of us are together for this one.
Yes, exciting.
So we wanted to talk about something that Lee and I have talked about on the podcast a bunch of times in passing, but I really want to hit on it, which is this idea of the Bullseye Method of growing your audience. The idea is basically, and this is a super force strategy. And I'm doing it at very strong force tendencies. It turns out Lee also did it. And I was like, oh my God, it is like a foresty thing. So the idea is you have these core ideas or these core themes or these core books that are like the most you books that are probably pretty weird. Like, let's be fair. Like, they're probably like your weirdest books. Also, probably your like least marketable books. So like I have a book called Worst Thing in the Universe, which is narrated by God. It's a satire about karma. And like it's set thousands of years in the future. It's like my favorite book, probably singular book I've ever written. And it is also the book no one ever reads because like, how do you market that? Like, how do you make that easily digestible? So like I have all these books in this little bullseye that are like my weirdo books that like that the core fans love. And the idea is like with each series, you kind of make it a little more marketable, little more marketable, little more marketable. And it's not even that like you do this with you're not like, oh, I think it could be this wide. So I'm going to like make it this wide and then a little more wide and a little more wide. It's sort of like, I mean, at least for me, it was like, oh, what if I just do this? And like I almost organically made it a little bit wide because that was as far as I could see. Like I did a book called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, and it was like very, very tight. And I was like, what if I just made this in a style that was like more Marvel? And sure enough, like much more popular. What if I like made a series out of that, much more popular? What if I like instead of making a series about like Portal Fantasy, what if I like added fairy tales and other things? It's like more popular. What if I did a Cthulhu series? More popular. And like, so it's not even that you're intentionally widening it out. It's like you see where you are and you can like see 1 degree beyond that. And so like in 5 years, suddenly you've like expanded what you could do forever, like a lot. And I think that specifically forests and aquatics, like we'll get a lot out of this. I feel like deserts are like, well, silly, why didn't you just know the whole market?
Yeah.
Like at the beginning.
That's how, yeah, like as a grassland, I'm like, wow, I do this completely opposite. Okay,
Yeah.
like this makes a lot of sense. And it's like great to, I think forests are kind of like an underserved and aquatics. Like we often don't, I don't feel like people are telling, maybe in the romance community they are, but I feel like people aren't really explaining like how to do this from like a perspective of like, I really just want to write the books I love and like try to find more readers for them, I think is how probably both aquatics and forests feel. And like there's a lot of stuff about like right to market, but like not a lot of stuff about this kind of bottom up approach. Cause like as a grassland, I'm very like top down. Like I'm like, okay, like I realize like I write royalty romance and I realized that well, first I started writing royalty fantasy, but I realized like, oh, like vampires are more popular. And then like I realized all the things that were more popular. I realized like well, people love like the princess who's kind of already a princess, so like princess problems, but they also love kind of they love more the ordinary girl who becomes a princess, and I just started to realize like all these things, and I was like, oh, okay, so you can just have like all these different series based on this. And like the way I think of it is, I should have like the ordinary girl to the princess is the most popular, and like vampires are the most popular in fantasy or whatever it is. And so like that's like series number 1. And then, and then you should still have the other series because people like this element of it too. Or you should have like multiple points of views in the same series. I think that's why Game of Thrones, for example, has done so well, because he took like He wasn't like, oh, this is, I think the desert's like, oh, this is the most popular trope, so I'm just gonna do like a book that's like just about this one. And the grassland is like, well, this trope is popular and gets this many people, and this trope is popular and gets this many people. So I'm gonna put like 32 points of views in a book series, and like that's George R. R. Martin.
Yes.
And that's like a number of other grasslands, like Cassandra Clare, and like
Yeah.
you just see that they're like, oh, like we'll just throw it all in, and like we'll create characters who resonate with everybody.
Yes. So you hit on something, and which is George R. R. Martin has the perfect Grassland series because it's every kind of fantasy. It's like
Absolutely.
Jon Snow is having a coming of age
Right.
action
Yes.
adventure series, and
Exactly.
Sansa is having a royalty series, and
Right.
like and
Princess problems.
and princess problems, and Arya is
Yes.
having like becoming an assassin, and like he's just like, well, you're going to be maybe bored of 90% of
Right.
these, but you're gonna love
Love
one of them.
this character.
And I took
Absolutely.
that when I did the Obsidian Spindle saga. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have points of view, and everyone's gonna have a different kind of fantasy, and like they're just gonna tell that story. And I do think that is like a super Grassland maneuver. But Lee, you actually have like some data about how this worked and like how this worked for you. And I would love for you to talk and share your screen if you want to, about like how you thought about like your three main series or how this all worked.
Yeah, I did this talk at Inkers, and I added a section because of what we talked about. I talk about writing what you love because it's important to me. For example, someone says, oh, this trend is hot, right? Academy romance. And I go, well, I don't have anything to say about it yet. You know, when I figure out what I want to say about it, the trend is like past. But I can see how things are still evergreen. I think I'm just better at seeing, you know, things that are going to last longer. And then, like you said, Forrest will take the evergreen trope and then play with it. And some of the reason we do that is because we love it so much and we want to make it ours a little bit. So I was trying to think, how do I write this intersection of what I love to write, what I love to read too, and what readers love to read. Now, I'm lucky because it's romance, and romance is huge. But I really am like, can I write 50 of these books? And I wrote a series that is historical and paranormal and menage. And these covers actually don't put forth the historical part very much. They put forth the erotic part and a wolf. Because I had an erotic following. So erotic romance was what I was writing for this publisher, and I wanted to bring all those people, but I wanted to write something that was really important to me. And I've been thinking up this series since I was a teenager. So I added a lot more spicy scenes and wrote this as menage because I felt like menage was sort of trendy. And I did a few things right, which is I put a wolf on it. So that was paranormal, and that ended up getting the paranormal crowd. But a lot of paranormal romance readers are reading contemporary romance with paranormal characters. It's a contemporary world, like Harry Potter world, with the werewolves are walking around in secret or something like that. So this was, you know, what I loved, but not quite in the center of what is popular. And that was okay though, because I was able to sell it as erotica, and that got all my erotic readers. And then I found the paranormal readers, and that's when I hit six figures, was when I found that bigger readership. So erotica to paranormal, yay. So then my friend Lily wanted to start a new pen name, and she said, you're writing this menage, which I know is a hot trope, and you have a paranormal audience. I'd like to do it in sci-fi because I need a break from contemporary romance. And we wrote this, and she really masterminded this, which is why book one, we ran no ads, and it flew up in rank. We're in KU, and sci-fi romance is a KU dominated genre. So anyway, we did a lot of things right, but I didn't do it. Like, she had masterminded, and then we didn't even know how to run ads. I remember like book one was flying, and I had a coaching call with someone who was big in, like an author coach, and he was saying, you did a lot of things right with this. So you just got the right sort of cover. You brought in your erotic readers, and you also hit more of a trendy like sci-fi romance thing, and people know there's going to be a lot of spice. But realized then, after I wrote a bunch of those, Menage, so 2 guys, 1 woman, Why Choose Romance wasn't quite around yet, which is the new menage a trois. It's like poly, be poly, multiple partners. That wasn't around. And when it started coming around, I didn't know it was trendy. And I was like, I don't know. What do I have to say about this? So I kind of think about the tropes and the trends and for too long, and I missed the trend. But in the meantime, my friend Renee
before you go to that, can I just say one more thing about the sci-fi thing? So like, this is a perfect example, I think, of a desert arbitrage play, because you had no ads, but like, we know how hot sci-fi romance became, so we can backfill to be like, well, when this series came out, like, there was probably a lot of arbitrage here. So there was a lot of people looking for this particular thing without ever running an ad. So like, when you can really only do that when like there's arbitrage happening, when a lot of people are searching and there's not a lot of options. So like, yeah, I just wanted to point that out before you go on to the next one.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think also the Menage, like just studying sci-fi romance, Menage is not not like as popular. I mean, now it is, of course, but like at the time it was very much couples probably. And yeah, there's just, I mean, and you've already said this, but yeah, there's so many things where it's like, oh yeah, this is really kind of obvious, like why it would take off, kind of on its own without the advertising. But it's also not obvious because you're going from like paranormal romance to sci-fi romance. That's not the easiest leap for for a lot of authors.
I was informed that a lot of paranormal readers were sci-fi romance readers because it's about the other and like some fantastical elements. It's just set in space. And I think it was safe for me to do. I felt right for me because I really love writing spicy scenes and fight scenes. So I just was writing those a lot and put that in here and put that in here. And Lily was writing contemporary club BDSM menage. So it felt safe. It felt like, okay, our readers will like this. And then we lucked out and it was popping. And sci-fi romance got super popular with TikTok. And we were way before that. This was like in 2017. But it worked. It was great. And yay. And then Renee saw me co-writing and said, oh, I would love to co-write with you. Let's hear some books of mine. And she really had done something cool, which was she was writing paranormal romance set in a real world. In fact, in her hometown, Tucson, Arizona. So it had like real elements. It was really grounded, but she also did a billionaire. So she did a contemporary romance trope, which is huge. 50 Shades of Grey, huge. And then she just added it as a werewolf. So honestly, we get readers that are the mainstream paranormal readers. They love these paranormal books. Give me more paranormal. They're searching paranormal books, which by the way, menage, we knew was a keyword. Those other series, we knew people would search for menage or MFM or whatever. So that keyword kind of went away in trendiness and popularity when poly, reverse harem, or Why Choose Romance came about. But anyway, I felt like this was more mainstream because MF, one guy, one lady, is just a bigger audience. So again, I didn't really do a lot of this on purpose, but I instinctively knew this paranormal series would be bigger than my historical one because it's set properly where most readers are used to reading. And it has some contemporary romance tropes, which are even bigger than paranormal. So we were able to just get a really nice niche, which is paranormal. So we're able to rank, we're able to get those readers. We're going to get visibility with those readers. We're not competing in the ocean of contemporary romance, which is, I don't recommend anyone do that. Like, you have to go into small town, you have to go into Western, military, if you can write military. Rom-com, even that is difficult. I would do like small town rom-com. Elsie Silver right now, it's like Western, small town, rom-com. Like, and she's getting the most readers because she's doing it really, really well. Anyway, this series is my biggest series. And it turns out I can write 50 of these books because I'm able to put in humor, suspense, lots of spicy scenes, lots of fight scenes. These werewolves are always taking down a secret society and saving the heroine, and then the heroine gets injected with a serum. She becomes a tiger. Like, really fun stuff is happening for me, but we're delivering something that looks so mainstream. Like, oh, I like werewolves. Oh, this is a werewolf novel. Oh, I kind of like Billy. Oh, it's Billionaire. Oh, let me check this out. And it is my most mainstream series, other than my dark romance, which is even a bigger audience and really hot right now. But I know if I write a dark romance novel or one of these bad boy alphas, and again, bad boy, really massive keyword. Alpha, really so massive. They just made an alpha male category on Amazon so people can just find them all in there.
Right.
And I will say one thing, all of these are kind of the same book. Like, yeah, like stuff happens, but it's always like this huge dominant guy who's really growly and like, you're mine, and possessive. He will never cheat. So same kind of, and you might think that's pretty one note, but it's what I love. So I'm like, I'll write that forever. And it's a hot mess heroine. And we don't put hot mess heroine on the cover like that. That's what I call, I'm always like, how do I get tropes plus voice? Because the trope will help me sell it, but the voice is what keeps me interested in writing it. And that's how I think of things. So anything else you guys want to say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the voice is what keeps readers invested, right? Because that's what, that's what makes, because like you can get like a werewolf billionaire romance. Like that's not the most uncommon thing in the store, but they get yours and then they want to keep reading what you have. And somebody, this was like random in a forum just about Renee's books, but they were like, Renee has this brand where like there's always like this scene in it. And I don't remember what the scenes were, and they're probably like super explicit, so I won't say them exactly, but like I was like, oh, okay, like, so I think that you're like that voice, it becomes your brand, and then that brand becomes extremely valuable, especially when paired with the tropes that are a good match for it, right?
Yeah. And I can advertise the tropey book and then lean on my voice to bring them through the series. That series has incredible read through, but it is the most marketable because bad boy alphas are two massive keywords just put together. And Nick Eriks did the ads for it. And he's like, the only book you should ever advertise is book one of that series. It is exactly what you say it is. And then it is a very readable book. So it is a page, like people can get through it and then they want more. The series made 7 figures last year. And that includes, it sells well in German, it sells well in French, in Italian, and I looked and it's my top selling book in Spanish too. That book won. And that it made me go, wait, Spanish does sell. Let me do everything in Spanish too. So
since I recently read this book, it's also very, like, you could be a contemporary romance reader and read this book, and like there's very little paranormal in it. Like, it's clearly a paranormal thread, and like there's moments of paranormal in it, but like this first book, like, I don't want to say you can trick contemporary romance readers into reading it, but like on some level, it's like if a contemporary romance reader picked this book up, like they would enjoy it, I think, because like it has very light. I can tell other books in the series are going to get more like paranormally from that, how this book ends, but like I don't know, did that have anything to do with what you were thinking about also when you read it? You wrote it?
I wasn't thinking about that because I don't really think about things on that level, but we get comments on our ads or we get comments in our group saying, I've never read paranormal and I read this.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this
Very cool.
last episode, or maybe it was on the live stream or somewhere, where it's like about like voice, and we talked about voice, but
it turns out that book one is actually kind of a Batman fan fiction because he's like this brooding billionaire and he has a ward named Sam who could also be named Robin, right? And then they go on shenanigans and she's a hacker, but she's kind of like a cat burglar. So I don't know if that was in Renee's head, but we wrote the whole thing and I kind of leaned into her being a super nerd because she's a hacker and she's always wearing superhero shirts. And I was able to do a bunch of jokes, and Renee and I don't mind using the word tits. So I've reread it recently. I was like, wow, we use the word tits a lot.
A lot.
From his point of view, like, wow, she has nice tits. Like, what the hell? But she's wearing a Batman shirt, logo stretched across her tits, and he calls her Bat Tits because it's funny, and he's kind of a jerk, and like whatever, and we redeem him later. It's fine. But Russell's never gonna forget Bat Tits.
I won't. I won't ever
I'm sorry
forget
I
it.
did that to you.
My whole life, I will not. It's fine. Like that's what I like. I will never forget that interplay, which I think is like. But that is the key for Forrest. And if you're not a Forrest, you're trying to get like those kind of shared language things are like really what the key is, I think. And in expanding out, like I'll bet that the core books feel like have the same kind of jokiness and such. Like you can pull the people down into your deeper and deeper work. I will say that one thing that I see with Forrest a lot is they're like, I want to write X, but like I don't feel comfortable writing X. Like, I don't know how to write X. And a lot of times they have this kind of like bridge series where it's like, I currently write series about like penguins, and I want to write penguins who are actually like superheroes. And like I need to write a superhero book now that's more popular to like bridge these two things together. So sometimes you have this kind of like bullseye where like you do know where you have to get to, but like you can't, as a like your confidence or your like skill or whatever is not where it needs to be to write that series. And so like you end up writing books or writing things that kind of expand your brand. The Obsidian Spindle Saga is a great example for me. Like I was not good enough to write that series until I wrote that series, partially because I needed to write more books, partially because like I needed to learn how to write romance better, needed to learn how to write YA better. And so I literally wrote like a series, a YA series. I wrote a romance into a series. I wrote like other books that I thought like would give me like the key to unlock. And like when I sat down to write that Obsidian Spindle book, which I had in my head for like years before I started to write it, like all of the things that I thought that I needed to learn made that series work, I think, incredibly well. Like at least I felt very comfortable writing it. And so you might say like, well, I want to write billionaire romance, but like I can't yet. Like I'm not comfortable writing those things. So it's like, well, like what are the elements of that billionaire romance alpha hole series that like you need to learn? Like maybe you write an alpha hole in like Scottish times, and then you write like a contemporary series, and you just like can pull all of these elements. So I think like if you are a Forrest or you're like, I don't know how to get to this element, oftentimes it's like the next you can stretch up because you've just done it. It's like, oh, you wrote the series, that second series, and you're like, oh, well, like and bringing in a co-writer is a great thing because it's like if there's a problem, you're going to be there to like be my guru in it. And like, I'm going to bring my special thing. You're going to bring your special thing. And then like, we're both going to up level together.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it seems like you partnered with a couple, maybe like deserts or grasslands or
really, really smart people. Really, really smart. Lily really thought about stuff for a long time. She said, I'm in contemporary romance and I'm getting killed. Like it's not niche enough. Club BDSM was no longer as popular. Menage as a keyword was maybe on the tail end. And she said, I don't want to compete with all the contemporary romance people. I'm going to find a smaller pond. And paranormal, I think it's like contemporary and like small town contemporary, like sweet and clean. Like those are pretty big ponds or oceans. And then paranormal was massive readership, but enough arbitrage. And then sci-fi romance was even newer. And she was in all sorts of groups where she could spot trends. And she was the first person who did German translations that I knew. It was like, dude, we're going to make so much money. And we did. And so, yeah, being a Forrest and leading with your heart can work because you can make incredible friends who tell you stuff. And the other thing is my books can't be ghostwritten. Like no one can ghostwrite Bat Tits. In book 4, the heroine's even more of a hot mess. She's my favorite. At one point, she looks at the hero and says, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anything except for toilet snakes. And Renee will say, readers will read a lot of paranormal, a lot of billionaire romance or whatever. They will no one forgets the toilet snakes. And it's like anyway, so it's the inside jokes, the humor, the suspense. And what's interesting is I'm writing dark romance because I like psychological thriller and I like mystery, and I have no idea how to write one. So dark romance takes a lot of those elements. I know how to write romance. So like, okay, he's giant dominant guy and she's a hot mess heroine and they're going to solve mysteries together. Like, but it's mostly centered on the romance. So what you said about that is cool. And then if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what do I do? Whatever you're doing, if you're not great at spotting trends or tropes or whatever, just start to nudge it to a little bit more mainstream. And Russell, you have some good examples of this in cozy mystery and stuff.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get out of here don't get out of here before we're talking about one really important thing, which is the idea of there are things that are read a stop. There are things that are like, these are essential to this series. And then there are things that are like, oh, does it have to be Scottish Highland? Like, can it be English countryside? Like, can it be German?
Can we make it more popular?
Like, can you do something to, like, can it be like people like to, like, can it be Regency? Like, can it be Victorian?
Yes.
And like, maybe you're like, no, it must be this time period. And like, okay, well, like, then it's got to be that time period. Like, maybe like it's built on War of the Roses. And like, so it's got to be like War of the Roses. I don't know. But then, like, there are things that you can say, well, like a psychic and a witch. Like, I don't know, like, which is more popular? Like, does it have to be Menage? Can it be boy, girl? Can it be girl, girl? Like, can it be girl, girl, girl? Like, whatever the thing is. Like, again, there are these elements that you're going to say, absolutely not. Like, and that's kind of the humor, like the things that are like, this is core to my brand. But like, if you're here and the trend is here, like, how can you like use those trends upline? And people always say, well, then how do I know what the trends are? And it's like, we all know a desert. Like, if you don't know a desert, meet a desert, and like meet like a grassland, like follow Monica or like follow like Dave Chesson or follow somebody who like knows the trends. Like, look at the top 100 and be like, man, there sure are a lot of wolf shifters and not a lot of mouse shifters. Maybe I should like make this this shifter. Or like, does it have to be wyvern? Like, can we just make it dragon? Can we just call it dragon? Because like, it's going to be more pop. But like, whatever those things are, like, I feel like we talk about like it's compromise. Like, I don't need these things to like, these things will drown. All of these things will pull my popularity down. And like, which ones can I jettison and like pop up?
I mean, it's really like, I love your analogy. It's like, which one's a buoy and which one's like the anchor. You know, that's gonna like pull you down in the rankings. But I mean, I think too, you know, like we have Theodora Taylor who talks about universal fantasy. We have Jennifer Hilt who talks about tropes, and like you can read those books. We have Alex Newton who does K-lytics, where he points out the trends pretty regularly. But I also think like one of the great things about Story Urge is that it's really about like the baseline psychological triggers. So like, you know, maybe you don't know that billionaires are more popular, but like if you unpack just psychological triggers, like wealth and poverty are both like, they're like these two extremes that we find very interesting. And so then if you can just unpack that, then like drilling down to the tropes, you'll start to notice like, okay, upstairs, downstairs is like a thing. Like you can do just, you know, royal regency, but if you like Bridgerton, which is entirely about wealth and pleasure and all that stuff. But if you do upstairs, downstairs, like if you do, you know, it's like Downton Abbey, like that's upstairs, downstairs. White Lotus, you know, like it's more interesting because you have like the poverty contrasted with the wealth. And so like you can kind of start to like unpack the tropes, and you see like, why is rags to riches so popular? It's just this wealth poverty, you know, and it's just like a psychological trigger. So I love reading about like all the trope stuff and like unpacking it that way, but I'm also like, I can go straight to the source the psychological trigger, and unpack it there. And then like, if you have a series that you're like, well, I didn't know anything that anybody said in this video. I didn't know that. I just wrote this series. But you can be like, okay, but there is this wealth poverty thing that I did in here. Or like, maybe they're not billionaires, but like when, there's like this element of wealth that I can kind of pull out or emphasize in my marketing. And so you can start to kind of see the building blocks of what you did create, and try to pull that out more, and also then take that and then build upon it too, I think.
Yeah, I love it. Well, do you have any final words, Lee, Monica, me, before we get out of here? Because I know we got a hard out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not great at spotting these things or thinking about marketing in this way, one, you can get better, because that's what I did. I did things, then I realized, oh, wait. And I started, like I said, I started to nudge things more marketable. I still write whatever I want, and then I just market the things that are the most marketable. And the other is, you can read the trope books. You can have people point things out to you, but you can also immerse yourself in story. And you're naturally going to be drawn to, oh, I love this story, or I love Taylor Swift's love story song. I'm going to write that. Well, great. You did it. That is a very, very popular story. It is one of these stories, and you're going to write that. Oh, boy meets girl, whatever. And there's conflict, and then they end up together. Congratulations. You have a very marketable romance on your hands. So you can follow your heart and just immerse yourself in story and find your way that way. And you can always rebrand. You can go, well, these werewolf isn't selling as much, so I'm going to emphasize the fact that they're billionaires or something. And you can play with the packaging that way. And you'll probably be updating your packaging over the 70 years you have copyright anyway. So
you say you do it every 5 years, right? Basically, not intentionally, but like
this sucker. Yeah, this is dark romance, and it had a very dark black cover with a guy on it that sold really well, but it's the Persephone Hades myth. So we made sure that is very prominent, because Persephone and Hades and Persephone myth is really popular right now, where 5 years ago I put that in the copy and I was like, I don't think this is converting as well as just saying it's dark romance. So we changed it up, and now I get a nice pomegranate cover.
I will just say, before I turn it over to Monica for final words, is like, you can also hire a desert. Like, for instance, I know a lot of people will just call the fairy plot mother or whatever, take your Theodora or Jennifer or someone and be like, can I just talk through this plot with you? And like, I've been on calls, and like, I've been with Becca and Inez and other people as they talk through this story, and they're like, does it have to be this? Or like, where is and like, they will just tell you, and then you can make that thing. So like, if you're bad at it, just hire someone for an hour to go through your plot and figure out what these things are. And then you don't have to wonder.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Monica, any final words?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's everything. So definitely, check out. I actually don't know if this is for inside, but hopefully this has been helpful in terms of how to think about your career and how to build a story either from the ground up or from the top down. Many different strategies kind of shared in here, but the goal is to make your books more marketable so that they're easier to sell and you can build the career you want.
Awesome. And join us in New Orleans, writermba.com/conference. Lee, do you have anything else do you have anything to pitch? I remember.
No, just come to New Orleans, everybody. I'm going to be there. It's going to be great.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.